What's up, people? It's 2-5. Sweet 16. The madness is here. Hope you all having a great day out there. I just wanted to take a second and come talk to y'all about these games coming up tomorrow. And then I will have a preview coming up for the games on Friday tomorrow. And then I will have a preview for Saturday, Sunday, because we're heading towards the Elite Eight. And when we wake up Monday morning or when we go to bed on Sunday night, we will know who is in the Final Four. Are you ready? Because I am. But first, I just want to talk about a couple of things real quick. Just real quick, some coaching news. Some of you probably already heard, but I just wanted to talk about it for a quick second. So on Monday, before Sports Reports Resort went on the air, Ed Cooley left Providence College and went down to Georgetown, down in old DC. So with that being said, Providence fans, I know the local guy left you, but he did take a better job. And I'm not a big fan of the whole doing it within conference. I know people get mad when I say that, but people get mad when players go to teams in the same conference. So I'm going to keep that same energy because that's what I do. But with that being said, it's a better job. And I got one request, Ed Cooley. Well, actually, two requests. One, do right by Georgetown. We need Georgetown. It's been a while, since they've been relevant. Patrick Ewing took them to the tournament once, and that was just because he got hot over the course of the Big East tournament. So my second request is part of doing Georgetown right is giving me what I want. And I want Maryland and Georgetown every single year. I don't care if it's preseason, first game of the season. I don't care if it's after you had a tune-up against American and Howard. I don't care if it's in the middle of conference season and you just need a break real quick. But the streets need Georgetown and Maryland. That's what we want. That's what we need. So congratulations, Ed Cooley, carrying on the legacy of John Thompson. What a legacy to behold and what a legacy to have to live up to. But luckily, you weren't the one that followed him or his son. So, welcome to Georgetown, Ed Cooley. And then right after that, about an hour after that, Mr. Rick Pitino left New Rochelle, New York. He left Iona. And then he came on down the road and went over to Queens to St. John's. How about that? Everybody's been clamoring for New York City to get back in the game. Hofstra had a good showing in the NIT. And I told you, Jersey is here. But everybody wants New York. They don't want Jersey. So St. John's is going to bring New York back. The only issue I have here, well, actually, I got two issues, me. But allegedly, Mike Anderson is gone for cause. And then you got the coach that's all about cause in Rick Pitino. Great coach on the court. Leaves a lot to desire in other areas, So I don't know. I expect the lawsuit to come and we'll see what happens. But with that being said, on the court, transfer portal error, Rick Pitino is going to clean up. One problem. He's already 70 and you gave him a 6-year deal. So I don't know how much of that contract he's actually going to coach, Nick Saban style, but maybe he'll stick around until the end of the contract. We'll see. If you could get at least 4 years out of it, I think it's worth it. You should have a Sweet 16 in your future. Maybe a Final Four run if everything breaks right. So congratulations, Rick Pitino. So then I expected Iona to stay open for a while because, I don't know how desirable it is, even though Rick Pitino definitely played a part in upgrading some facilities up there. So, Iona's nothing to sneeze at or anything like that, like they're better than Siena and Niagara, I guess, keeping it in perspective. But with that being said, thank you, Perdon't, because if it wasn't for you, Tobin Anderson of Fairleigh Dickinson, Jersey stand up, would not have gotten this job as the head coach of Iona. Now, how crazy is that? Because I was just telling you all, that Fairleigh Dickinson lost to Merrimack, and, wasn't even supposed to be in the tournament if not for the stupid NCAA transition rule. But you know what? They did get to the tournament. They took advantage of their opportunity. And you know what? Tobin Anderson moved on up. So thank you, Matt Painter, because you made this possible. Thank you, Zach Edey, because you made this possible. Now we'll see what the coaching looks like. Iona's a better job than Fairleigh Dickinson. I'm not sure by how much without Rick Pitino, but the conference is definitely better. The Metro Atlantic is definitely greater than the Northeast Conference. So congratulations, Tobin Anderson. And finally, coming off of going to the Sweet 16 2 years ago, coming off of having the nation's longest winning streak this season. Unfortunately, they ran into the buzzsaw from Durham. But Mr. Paul Mills, head coach of Oral Roberts, has accepted the job at Wichita State. So come on back, Wheat Shockers, formerly America's sweetheart. It just seems like yesterday when Wichita State was undefeated coming into the tournament. Cleanthony early and, Baker and, these guys, Van Vliet, playing against Kentucky. They got upset, but, what a great run that team was on. So, it'd be great to see Wichita State ascend to the top of the new AC, welcoming UAB, Florida Atlantic, who we'll get to later, Charlotte, Rice, North Texas, and UTSA. So the new AAC is going to be something to see, and Paul Mills is on his way. So congratulations to you, sir. Now, Sweet 16 is here. The madness is here. We're going to start off with 7 seed Michigan State and 2 seed Kansas State in the East region. So, what am I looking forward to in this matchup? I want to see the coaching matchup. I want to see the tacticians, because we got Mr. March in one corner. No disrespect to Bill Self. Mr. March in one corner. Been to 15 Sweet 16s. 10-5 record in the Sweet 16. Tom Izzo. National champion coach Tom Izzo. Even though that championship was many, many moons ago in the year 2000. Mateen Cleaves, shout out, But anyway, against Jerome Tang of Kansas State, first-year head coach. And if you're wondering where he was prior to that, or you just don't know, he was on the Baylor staff for the last 19 years, including the national title a few years ago under Scott Drew. So what that means is he's seen this before. He's been here before, but this is his first time actually in the seat leading this type of run. So it's going to be interesting to see, because, they played Montana State the first round, get your feet wet, feel the tournament out. Okay, get that one out the way. And then they got pushed to the wire by Kentucky in the game of the weekend last week. He obviously, won that game, out-coached Coach Cal, as what seems to happen a lot lately. But now you're up to the big dog, Tom Izzo. So I want to see how your team responds, because Kansas State has the best duo left in this region, that being Marquise Noel and Keontae Johnson. Best duo left in this region, and one of the best left in the overall tournament. So key to the game, I brought it up the other night. Michigan State came into this tournament the number 3 team in the nation in 3-point percentage. They proceeded to go 2-16 against Marquette the other day, against the Golden Eagles, who they beat after they finished off Trojangeles in the first round. That being said, Kansas State, defensively, their opponents shoot 29.7% from 3-point. So something's got to give. Rubber meeting the road, baby. So, what do we have here? I think we're going to have Kansas State come out on top, just because I think that duo is going to be a little too much. Michigan State does have Tyson Walker, who has been playing out of his mind and clutch the last couple of games. And then, of course, my guy Sissoko, blocking shots, grabbing rebounds, taking over the final stages of the game. You got Joey Hauser, so if Michigan State's shots are falling, This is going to be a great game that comes right down to the wire, and don't be surprised if the Spartans win. But I think Kansas State just has just a little bit more, just a little bit. So, give me Kansas State by 4, moving on to the Elite 8. And we'll get back to that matchup. Of course, I had Kansas State in my bracket to the Final Four. That doesn't mean that's why I picked them this time around. I just think they're better than Michigan State, because Michigan State, regardless of how you feel about Tom Izzo, how you feel about them personally, they were a 7 seed for a reason. And that means they were worse than Purdue. They were worse than the Hoosiers. They were on the same level as Northwestern. They were around the same range as Maryland. So, these are all teams that are home right now. So, as tough as the Big Ten is, here we are. And Kansas State coming from the Big 12. So they went through Kansas. They went through TCU. They went through West Virginia. So like Kansas State is battle tested, even though their coach is in his first year. So I think it's going to be an entertaining game, an interesting game, and may the best team win. Now, on to the game that I said I was looking the most forward to. I got to rethink that, because I'm all about this Gonzaga UCLA game, and I'll get to that later and why I'm into that game. But I believe Arkansas and UConn has the potential to steal the show. You watch, you see Roman Reigns and all these guys, and then you get somebody like a Dolph Ziggler out there that comes along and steals the show. I think this game can steal the show. Adama Sanogo, he has been the leader for this team in their tournament wins against Iona and St. Mary's. And the advantage that St. Mary's had against UConn only came when they got their scores or they got their offense in before UConn got set up. But same thing here, coaching matchup. Danny Hurley's not a first-year coach. But now that they're in the Sweet 16, he has 2 tournament wins. What that means is before this season at UConn, he had not won a tournament game before. So this is uncharted waters to some degree, right? Arkansas, on the other hand, has my guy, Eric Musselman, but please keep your shirt on. They have him at the helm, and Arkansas is looking for their 3rd straight Elite 8, which will be the first time in school history that they accomplish that if that's what happens. So, we're at the point now where all the cliches go out the window and everything happens on the court. And what Arkansas needs is Anthony Black. He's been kind of quiet. He's got an injured back, so hopefully he's feeling a little bit better with the extra rest, but I'm going to keep my eye on Nick Smith. You keep hearing me talk about him, top 5 draft pick potential, from all the mock drafts that I've been seeing. Maybe he slips a little bit after what happened against Kansas. If you remember, he only played 16 minutes, not because of injury, because he was ineffective. And that's what great coaches do. Eric Musselman saw that he was ineffective. And instead of saying, I'm going to let him figure it out or he'll get it right, Eric Musselman said, no. We have a game to win, and you're standing in our way. So he made that adjustment, took one of his star players out. Not many coaches would have done that. So I salute Eric Musselman for that. And things like that are going to be the reason why this game ends up being close. They got my guy Jordan Walsh, who got a little Dylan Brooks in him without all the antics and without the mouth. They got Ricky Council. They have Debo Davis, who came in and scored 25 before he fouled out against Kansas. So Arkansas has talent all over the place. So this is not one of those games where UConn is going to win because they're just so much more talented than Arkansas. But I just think that Sanogo is just going to be too much, and I don't think Arkansas has anybody that can stop him. So I could see UConn winning this game by about 7 points. It's going to be close all the way through. Arkansas fights, but both teams concern me because their starts and their finishes. So UConn finishes strong, as you saw against Iona and St. Mary's. Once they got it together, neither one of those teams could do anything against them. Arkansas, on the other hand, they started out great against Illinois in the first round, but then they tried their best to blow the game, and Illinois just couldn't hit a few shots to put that scare into them. Against Kansas, Arkansas tried every which way possible to give Kansas that game in the first half, but they stuck around. And Kansas missed some 1-and-1s, and that was all she wrote. Arkansas got the momentum, and they never let go. So, UConn, I advise you to play better in the first half than you did against St. Mary's, or else you'll be looking up at the lights going home. But give me UConn. Tennessee, the 4 seed, against Florida Atlantic. You better not call them a Cinderella. This is a 33-3 team. I don't care who you are. You 33-3, I'm not calling you a Cinderella. Even if you're a 9 seed, you're still not a Cinderella. College of Charleston wasn't a Cinderella, but they may have been just looking at their seed. But Florida Atlantic belongs here. They have the coach, Dusty May, who you will hear potentially for the Notre Dame job now that Mike Brey is gone. You might hear him for the South Florida job now that Mike Brey, funny how that works. There were reports saying that Mike Brey was going to take the South Florida job, and then shortly thereafter, we realized that wasn't going to be the case. I guess it could still happen, but as of right now, it is not a thing. But Dusty May is probably going to be rumored for both of those jobs, or at least one of them. So this is a showcase for him to show what he can do as well. And I absolutely love his quote when asked about how he was preparing for Tennessee. So I quote, "We're going to study Australian rugby rules and get ready for the Vols," end quote. That's exactly it. Because Tennessee is going to claw, they're going to scratch, they're going to grab you, they're going to hold you, they're going to bump you, they're going to knock you down. They're going to do all these things, and they have a reputation of doing these things. So the referees sometimes turn the other way. Just like think about the Legion of Boom in the NFL. Once you establish a reputation, the ref ain't going to throw a flag on every play. So you get away with a little bit more than the other teams do. So that's Tennessee here playing that role of the John Chaney Temple and the Bob Huggins Cincinnati, the Jamie Dixon Pitts and Virginias of the world. So Tennessee has never been to a Final Four. They win this game, they're a step closer. FAU never won a tournament game before this year, and they knocked off Memphis, and then they knocked off FDU, also known as Perdont's daddy. Tennessee beat Louisiana, and then they put the shellacking. I said they put the mollywop on the Blue Devils from Durham. Kamwa, my guy, had his career high 27. That probably won't be needed for this game if it goes the way that I'm thinking. But you want some stats, right? So Tennessee, 3rd in the nation in points given up per game, 57.8. As far as the teams left in the tournament, that would be second behind Houston. So defense is their calling card. So if Tennessee is knocking down the threes, they can be tough. Just think of a souped up version of San Diego State, which Alabama has to deal with, on Friday. But this is what Tennessee does. They play this defense. They're physical, and it's tough to get through on them. So what do you have to do? You have to get free throw opportunities. So if the refs are calling a tight whistle, they back off a little bit. But in the meantime, you earn your free throws while the refs are calling it that way. You get transition points because you got to try to score before they can get their defense set up. The thing about it is that Florida Atlantic is only 71.6% as a free throw shooting team. So can they take advantage of the opportunities if they get to the line? Secondly, they're number 58th in the nation in fast break points per game. What does it mean? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? It just depends on your perspective. There are 363 Division I teams, soon to be 361 because Hartford is leaving to go to Division III, and then St. Francis of Brooklyn is getting rid of their athletics altogether, it sounds like, at the end of this season. So 58 out of 361. That doesn't sound so bad, right? But it's not top 20. It's not top 30, So, keep perspective. It's just on how you want to look at it. With that being said, I choose to look at it as 58th. Is it good enough? So give me Tennessee by about 11. I think it's going to be close throughout. There's going to be a point with about 6.5, 7 minutes left. We're going to look up at the score. Tennessee might only be up 3 or 4, and we're going to start believing that FAU can do it. And then their legs are going to give out because Tennessee's going to lean on them and force their will on them. And then before you know it, shots that were falling aren't falling anymore, you know. But don't call them Cinderella. No glass slippers, you know. But I think Tennessee is going to pull this out, get to the Elite Eight, meet up with Kansas State. And if you've been paying attention to my bracket, I got Kansas State in the Final Four. So there you go, you know. And then the main event. The main event. Now, I told you earlier, I thought that in the other night that I thought that UConn and Arkansas has the potential to be the show stealer. That's going to be the game of the night in my eyes. But history would say Gonzaga and UCLA is a prize fight. These two teams have history with one another, especially in March. So let's take a journey back to 2006. You remember Adam Morrison crying, sitting on the court right before he went to the NBA, and everybody had the debate between him and JJ Redick, which one of them was going to light the NBA on fire. You remember that game? What I remember from that game, and what some of you might remember, is Gonzaga. This was the regional final, Elite Eight. Gonzaga had a 9-point lead with about 3 minutes left. And then UCLA came through like hell on wheels and ended the game on an 11-0 run. Adam Morrison was crying before the buzzer. He was crying when Gonzaga still had a chance to win the game. He already knew. You already knew what it was going to be. And UCLA pulled out a 2-point win as a result of that 11-0 run. So that's what we remember, right? Adam Morrison crying. But then 2 years ago, it was Jalen Suggs that left UCLA crying. Johnny Juzang and the gang, formerly of Kentucky, ready to pull the upset over the undefeated Gonzaga Bulldogs. I always want to call them the Gonzaga Zags, but the Gonzaga Bulldogs, right before they played Baylor for the national title. And, UCLA up. And then lo and behold, Jalen Suggs from about 88 or 89 feet, it was probably a little closer than that, but you get the point. He pulled that thing and history was made. Gonzaga went on to go lose to Baylor in that national title game. Gonzaga also a couple of years prior had lost the national title game in North Carolina. So Gonzaga has been here. They know what it is. They have been close. They've been to the mountaintop almost. They touched the top of Everest and then slipped. So Drew Timme, this is potentially his last game in a Gonzaga uniform if they were to lose. He does have another year of eligibility, due to the COVID year, but I'm not sure if he's going to come back or not. But what I am sure of is that Drew Timme needs to stop cussing on national TV. Come on, young man, do better. But, I think he's going to play his heart out, and I think this is the type of game that they went and got Hasir Bolton from Iowa State, and they went and got Malachi Smith from UT Chattanooga, who scored 17 and 11 respectively in their win the other night against TCU. Who gave up a 10-point lead. Gonzaga showed you their firepower. Number 1 in the nation, averaging 87.3 points per game. And then here we go. UCLA with the 6th best defense, giving up 60.2 points a game. So with that being said, can UCLA get to 70? I'm going to put the magic number at 75. If UCLA cannot reach 75, I think it's going to be near impossible for them to win this game, as talented as they are. This may be the game where the powdered blue Bears miss Jalen Clark, 13-6, and the best defender on the team. But they still have Amir Bailey. They still have Tiger Campbell. They still have Jaime Jaquez. Now, Tiger Campbell, you cannot do what you did the other night. So after the game against UNC Asheville, they matched up with Northwestern in the previous round, the second round, and Tiger Campbell proceeded to go 0 for 7. But then you'll say, he scored 12 points. And I'll tell you, yeah, he's a very good free throw shooter. He's going to need to score. He's going to need to push the pace at times. He's going to need to set up and keep Gonzaga on their toes. He's going to need to score a couple of points, from the field, not from the free throw line. Jaime Jaquez had 24-8 against Northwestern. So he's probably going to need something similar to that against Gonzaga to pull this off. Now, I'm not saying that Gonzaga are world beaters because they're not. We've seen St. Mary's pull their pants down. We saw them lose to Loyola Marymount. So Gonzaga is by no means invincible. I just think they're better than UCLA because UCLA, in my eyes, has an inflated record by the weak conference that they play in. As you saw, Trojangeles go out in the first round. You saw Arizona get upset by Princeton in the first round, a 15-2. You saw Arizona State, beat Nevada, but then they took it, almost beat TCU, but they couldn't do it. The Pac-12 was nothing of note this year. So, UCLA may be a little bit inflated. They were in talks for the 1 seed. And if Jalen Clark didn't get injured, they probably beat Arizona in the Pac-12 title game, and they probably are a number 1 seed. And Arizona is probably not a 2 seed, or they wouldn't have played Princeton at least. So that one injury has already affected the tournament as we know it. So with that being said, without him, I just don't know if UCLA can fully stop Gonzaga to the best of their ability. So, give me Gonzaga. I still think it's a close game. I still think it's something like 74-69, where UCLA has its moments. They have their chances, but in the end, they just can't get the bucket that they need. So, to recap, I got Kansas State over Michigan State. I got UConn over Arkansas. I got Tennessee over FAU. And I got Gonzaga over UCLA. So tomorrow night, I will be back with previews of the games on Fridays and reaction to tomorrow's games. In the meantime, Sports Reports as Ordered will be back. You'll probably get it Friday morning or Friday afternoon. We're going to be talking about a couple of different things. We're going to be talking about the hypocrisy that I kind of alluded to earlier. Why are we hypocrites and don't want players to have a transfer portal or be allowed to move when the coaches that they committed to play for are bouncing yearly? That's one topic. We're going to get into the referee getting demoted in the NBA by the aforementioned Fred VanVleet, his complaints. The NBA took action. I hope this becomes a thing. Not necessarily every ref needs to be demoted, but I do like the fact that they're holding people accountable. We're going to talk about Austin Eckler. What's next for him? Where's he going to end up? And then we're going to talk about the OKC Thunder, who are, as of this moment, because games are still going on, as of this moment, they're a half game out of the 6th seed, which means they're a half game away from avoiding the play-in. So the tank is in the tank. OKC is here. The future is now. And oh, by the way, they get Chet Holmgren back next year, of Gonzaga fame. So that's just a little preview to get your mouth watering about what we're going to talk about on Sports Reports as Ordered. Me and my guy, Raphael Rutley. So, now I'm going to leave you to watch these games tomorrow. I hope you enjoy. Have a blessed day. Thank you for your support. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. And I love you, America. And I'm out. Peace.